It's Scale School time. We are live. We've got a double feature coming, and we're actually late. So we're gonna have to start going a lot faster because our special guest Narlin has got a very, very hard cut at past. So we're gonna skip all of the Falcor fun introductions and things like that and jump straight into it. Obviously, with me, I have Mr. Professor Sawyer. And our special guest today, coming in from Google Cloud, working in Web3, Mr. Narlin Mittal. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to have this conversation. I'm also really excited for the hackathon in a week or two.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So for the people that are new to you, which I assume is our community, we've done a couple of announcements. We actually haven't even announced you as a judge yet. Why don't you give them a little bit of a rundown of who you are, what you're doing, and how you got here?
Yeah, sure. So hey everyone, I'm Nolan. I lead a lot of our product efforts in Google Cloud Web3. So developer infrastructure, things like faucets, data sets, RPCs, nodes, and then, we're exploring like the intersection of AI and Web3 like everyone else. Been with Google for about 10 years, based in the Bay Area. I started my Google career with Firebase, which is a developer platform. Really love developer tools and developer infrastructure. And then I worked on hotels a little bit within Google Maps and search. But I've been involved in crypto since 2013. And I started building in 2017, started building Solidity smart contracts and dApps, just experimenting, got really excited, knew I wanted to spend the next chapter of my career in this space, and was lucky enough to find a team at Google that was building in this ecosystem. So that's a little bit about me. Been in the Bay Area since 1999, and I got twin boys, 13 years old, and let's go.
How into coding are they?
They're vibe coding like crazy. So this past summer, actually, I introduced them to the concept of vibe coding, and they were like, wait, we could do this. And I said, yeah, you should start. And they're like, we could actually make money off of this. And, they were fortunate enough. We have like a good network. They found some friends and family that were willing to hire them to build some apps. So they started their entrepreneurial journey this summer, vibe coding. And, they can't read or write a line of code. I've tried for many years to get them to actually code. They couldn't do it, but they can vibe code. And during the middle of it, I remember distinctly both of them turned to me and were like, "We're so glad we never really learned how to code. Why would we have done that? Like, this
feels like a waste now." It's interesting because you say you worked on Firebase, and that was actually my introduction to vibe coding back last year. I was helping my dad put together this kind of workflow for sales for his company. And he was like, "Oh yeah, we worked with these developers. They charged us like £200,000, and it was awful." And I was like, "Dude, just like tell me what you want, and I'll get it sorted." And he's like, "How? You don't know how to code?" And I was like, "It don't matter. I'll get it sorted." And I built this entire thing all through Firebase, and it was amazing, incredible. I loved Firebase. And
I think Firebase is a really good platform for that when you need the back end and database and things like that. It works really well. Vibe coding.
That's the thing that I love about Firebase is that you do actually have access to all of the files. Where like if you were to go and use like Claude, Claude, it doesn't. You just get the files. It doesn't put like if you in the app itself, it doesn't like actually turn it into a full-blown application where you can go in and look at the individual files and things like that. You have to download them and set them all up yourself, and but this isn't a Firebase shill, so yeah, what's going on, man?
Nothing. It's it's crazy. The world it's like AI accelerates AI. I don't know. I feel like I just can't keep up most days now. It's like it's hard because I think we're at that point where there's definitely things happening that are like they're so out there that it's a little bit hard to wrap your head around. But at the same time, we're still so early, and like it's gonna take a long time for this stuff to take over the world. And so I think right now it's just like, I don't know, I think everyone's got, myself included, just has a little bit of like imposter syndrome. You're just like, how do I fit into this, like this new world, right? Agentic coding, autonomous agents, agentic systems, LLMs. It's just like, it's moving fast, and it's both very exciting and very hectic right now. So I spend a lot of time talking to AI agents, and I think my wife is worried that, well, I'm spending too much time talking to AI agents, and she's probably
Your
right.
wife is right. Like me and Sawyer, like it was I don't know. I mean, Sawyer's like so far down into the rabbit hole now that he doesn't even include me anymore. But like 6 months ago, like we on the weekend, it would be like him outside, I would be here, and then I would just hear Sawyer's wife in the background. I think fiance at the time, kind of just like, I heard the digs and things like that. And then when you went to, what did you do on your honeymoon? When you went to Paris, what did you spend your entire time doing?
I think I only opened my computer like one time. Actually.
You sent me like 19
good.
different articles and things. You were down the rabbit hole.
We rode the metro a lot. We rode the metro a lot. So when I was on the metro, that was when we were in like the early phases of like LLM training. That was before we had state-of-the-art open source models. And so that was when we had a bunch of people like talking about, hey, this is what we could do. I think that was like the Gemini. I think that was like the early Nano Banana era, if I'm not mistaken, back in September. I mean, it's only been like 4 months, but
yeah, 4 months is like a couple years ago, right? In terms of how much more you can do now.
Yes.
It's and you know the advances are so often and so large, and you know one of the things that you know Google had been talking about, and one of the reasons why you know we're here today to talk about is the Agents Payment Protocol, AP2, APA, and for people who aren't, you know, lots of acronyms go around in this space. Why don't we dive deep, Narlin, and you let people know what is exactly APA and AP2, and how's it gonna benefit them?
Yeah, it's A2A and AP2. No problem.
Sorry.
I get them twisted all the time. It's also easy to get MPC and MCP twisted, especially if you do a lot of crypto and Web3 stuff. But going back to A2A, so A2A is agent to agent, right? And the goal here is, if we step back and think about MCP servers, and MCP as a protocol gained a lot of traction because agents inevitably need to talk to tools or APIs that are external to their organization, right? Third-party APIs. When you talk to a third-party API, an agent can figure it out and make a lot of calls and do a lot of trial and error. But if you have an MCP server, it's a lot more efficient. You save a lot of tokens. So when you're talking to a third-party API, use MCP. In the same way, when you're talking to a third-party agent, you use A2A. So it's a protocol that allows you to discover trusted agents and then also communicate with them, like a messaging protocol, so that agents outside of, you know, like agents that you didn't build, you can still communicate with. And that has a lot of implications as we think about how we're going to, you know, separate duties and tasks and delegate work to other agents. I mean, I see a world where many agents are going to delegate to agents who are going to delegate to agents, and you're going to get to like very small tasks that an individual agent does really well. And in that world, you need a protocol where people can communicate, or that these agents can communicate. And then as an extension to that, you know, when we started thinking more deeply about this agent-to-agent communication, it became obvious that agents are going to have to transact and buy things, right? And you're going to have to, you know, transact with another agent to get things done. Or maybe, you know, because you're delegating a small task to an agent, you have to pay them for that task. So how's that going to work? So we created AP2, which is our payments protocol, agent payments protocol, and it allows for secure transactions between agents and defines a whole exchange for that. So we think with these two technologies, a lot is possible now, and we can open up this to you know, the world. And the cool thing about AP2, and we'll talk more about that, I think, is it's payment rail agnostic, right? So it can work with credit cards or wires and ACHs, but it can also work with crypto, for instant cross-border settlements and all the great properties of crypto. So depending on the use case, depending on the organizations, you can pick one or the other.
And so yeah, I'm sure there's you've looked into these protocols and things like that, and how many new potential like applications has it opened up for you?
It's infinite. It's infinite, right? I think what's really cool is, I mean, first of all, we got to give some credit where credit's due, right? I mean, Google's one of the most innovative companies in the world, and is very well known for creating and contributing to open protocols. And so I think, we're seeing a lot of entities right now, a lot of larger entities creating these, we'll call them competitors to these open protocols, but they're keeping them more closed source, right? They're a little bit more designed for that specific provider. So I think it's really important to call out that these things are built in a way where they really are provider agnostic, and it just shows Google's commitment to pushing the agentic space forward. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong about this, but I feel like you guys donated A2A to the Linux Foundation. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Yeah. So I mean, just again, like I think those are just really important things from a developer perspective, because at the end of the day, we don't know where this is going to go, and it's really nice to have the flexibility when we think about an agent now has the ability to create an agent, which may not want to run on Google, right? It may say, I actually want to run on this provider because I need to be hosted specifically in this country where I need this provider. And like, it's really, I just think that's a big part of the cornerstone around this. Taking a step further there is, I like to think of it like everything that exists today functionally is already being touched in some way, shape, or form by AI. And we oftentimes hear about like the AI industry, and I mean, maybe this is a little bit contrarian to most, but I think there's a much smaller part of the world that's like the quote unquote AI industry. That's like maybe your AI SaaS. I think the AI industry as a whole is just every industry being upgraded to the next generation of tools. And so I really see AI as a tool to make that happen. And as part of that, I think A2A and AP2, again, they're primitives that this new wave of technology is going to get built on top of, right? When you start to think, okay, I have an internal enterprise agent and I need it to be able to access some external information, right? Maybe it's as simple as we have a chatbot on the website and people are talking to it, but we no longer want to just give basic responses. We now actually want to take those and convert them to good tickets and then kick off different flows. Well, most people don't realize there's sensitive information internally, and we're at risk exposing this to the public. And so where I see these types of tools being really powerful is we can now set, as you mentioned, this like delegation of functionality. We can actually now have a chatbot agent who can be in charge of taking information in, sanitizing it, ensuring it's secure, it's not going to harm anything, and then it can talk to the internal enterprise agent and say, hey, I have something new for you. Please add this to the knowledge base. Please kick off a ticket. And then, the AP2 side obviously is, well, right now I think it's very much so the easiest way to comprehend it is human in the loop payments. I just think it's easiest for people, right? I want to buy something. I delegate to a team of agents to basically make it happen. But to your point, I mean, it's already compatible with X402, and X402 is proving to be the payment rail for autonomous agents. So I think it's a very clear, like, we're going to go 0 to 1 here pretty quick and start to see AP2 probably get involved deeply within the Claude bot and nanobot ecosystems and start to get picked up there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think X402 has a big, opportunity to be like that protocol or standard for like paywalls and gateways. As we have agents that are like consuming information on the internet or different services, X402, which has always been, payment required, but has been dormant as a status code for a long time, now is being rejuvenated as a way to say like, hey, this is a paid service, paid content. You can access it, but we need X amount of dollars, or micro transactions where I think crypto really shines. And now there's like a way for an agent to kind of have that payment exchange with that service. So I think that's going to be huge. I think, in scraping the web and accessing different services now with everyone vibe coding, right? Like you're creating an application, all of a sudden your application needs an API that does some particular capability. You don't want to like break the flow and then start like, okay, let me onboard here, let me get API keys. Like this is what we do today, and it's a small thing, and then you give your API keys to this agent and it like resumes its workflow. But with X402, there's an opportunity to say like, hey, like I found an API, I can use it. Can I just start onboarding? This is what it's going to cost, and you can kind of give that go ahead. And then the cool thing about AP2 stepping back is that it handles both human in the loop payment workflows as well as fully autonomous workflows, right? So as we figure out how to do fully autonomous workflows or the use cases where that's the most relevant way to do it, you can kind of do either one. So basically AP2, you kind of express an intent. You sign an intent mandate that gets like cryptographically signed so that the receiver of that mandate can prove, yes, it came from you, a user, it wasn't tampered with or hallucinated. This intent is like came directly from the user, and then it can serve that mandate. And you can either, like there can be an additional cart mandate that the user then approves and signs and says like, yes, I see these things in my cart, I want to approve them and actually let the transaction happen. Or you can say, hey, this is a small enough transaction, or this is like, there's not going to be enough time for me to make a decision here. I just want you to buy the thing as soon as it's available. Then you can give more agency to the agent to do that transaction. And like, I know we only have a few minutes left here. Talking about the hackathon, that's some of the things that I'd love to see are these different models, right? Because I don't think like either of these really have been solved in a great way at scale, both human loop and autonomous. How do you do those? How do you like move back and forth between those two things depending on the transaction? And even also another big part of this is every time you see a demo with agentic commerce, it's always happy path and everything just goes smoothly and everything's fine. Like it's somehow like the address has no problems, like there's no transaction problems. But I'd love to see people build and handle like edge cases a little bit more, like where things go wrong, how do you involve a human? So I think like those are like really interesting pieces that are still yet to be solved. But now that we have these primitives, as you said, like these building blocks, at least now there's a path to doing these things. And I think we'll see a lot of this happen as we move forward.
Definitely. Especially, with the hackathon coming up with your guys, AP2 track. One of the things I've been thinking a lot about, we had a great scale school a couple weeks ago with AstroSync where we talked a little bit about this. And I'm very interested in seeing people think outside the box in regards to how commerce works. I think one of the hard parts for me is this concept of like delegated data to an agent. And what I mean by that is, and I think A2A potentially solves this really well. I give my home address and my credit card information to all sorts of companies because that's the way we live it. And you kind of get comfortable with it at a point. But as a tech person, I also notice more and more that I'm using Link from Stripe. I'm using Shop from Shop. That's the new one that randomly popped up recently. You've got Amazon Pay, you've got PayPal, et cetera, right? You've got all these, you've got Google Pay, et cetera. You've got all these options where you put it in and then you kind of get to delegate downstream. And I think one of the pieces that would make a lot of sense for me regarding AP2 and A2A is seeing people build flows that work in a similar direction, in the sense of, I don't want to give an agent full access to my Amazon account. That's a terrible idea. I don't know what model it's using. I don't know who it's sharing that data with. I don't know what it has limits or doesn't. What I actually want it to do is be able to go and find me things based on my query or based on this agency that it's given, and then be able to delegate downstream and say, hey, here's the cart, or here's what I want to buy. Here's what I think you should buy. And it's using maybe my personal shopping agent, my personal checkout agent that is actually something that I can run locally, or I can pay a service to run securely that has my payment credentials, has my shipping address, things like that. I'm really interested in seeing someone build something along those lines, because as much as I love all the big commerce giants, I do think there's some room for shakeup here because I don't think you could just give agents full access to Amazon and call it a day. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the permissions and access controls and things like that are going to be important. And I think like, the merchants are going to have to adapt and provide, ways like interfaces where you can give more granular permissions to different users if you really want to take off, right? So I think that's going to be a really interesting part of this. I agree with you. Like this is the danger right now. It's like, okay, I can give an agent access to a database to start querying it, but what happens if it deletes it, right? So like, common practice there is saying, well, you gave me access to a database, but you gave me write privileges. I don't want that. I'm not going to use it. You kind of force the user to do the right thing. But at the end of the day, people move fast in this world, and there's bound to be hiccups. So I think it's the responsibilities of the key merchants and gatekeepers and payment providers to think about this and do this the right way. I think like AP2 and A2A are the first step here, and actually allowing for that messaging to happen and creating a standard. But I think, there's a lot more to be done in terms of more granular permissions. I really
100%.
apologize, guys. I have to run, but I'm really looking forward to the hackathon, and it was a pleasure talking to both of you.
Likewise. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you taking the time, Narlin, and we will see you again later.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Cheers.
If you're watching at home, just a reminder, we are not done.
We're not done yet. Now, so StreamYard is an interesting platform because it doesn't allow me. There is 3 people now. Is the third person ready? That is the question.
Can you turn their camera off?
Can they give us a thumbs up?
I can't see him.
Hello.
Hey.
Nice to meet you guys.
How are you doing, Celeste?
Hello. I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good.
Pretty good. So this is the first ever we've done like a switch back to back because normally, right, we do this like spiel for people before the show starts, right? So we can do it live as well, or we'll do a little toned down version, which is so obviously we like to have fun in the show, but we also like to, educate people as well. Sawyer is mean and will make fun of me, and I take it because he's here in the company, I'm here, so I gotta, I can't exactly fight back. But yeah, we're super excited. And for those of you who don't know who we have joining us today, Celeste, why don't you give a little introduction about yourself, who you work for, and how you got to where you are.
Sure. So my name is Celeste. I work as head of DevRel at Virtuos Protocol. So my background has mostly been in data and AI. So a little bit less Web3 initially. I was actually doing stuff like, data science around fast-moving consumer goods. I worked in a tech company in Asia. I've worked a few different roles just doing data and AI across like various years. And more recently, I've been with Virtuos Protocols, where we actually built this AI agent platform, which allows for agent-to-agent commerce. So there's actually a lot of similarities with what Nalin mentioned earlier. What I focus on is a little bit on the product side, but even more so on growth and developer relations, where we actually onboard a lot of these builders who want to build AI agents to join our developer platform. Basically, it's an agent ecosystem, whoever wants to monetize their AI agents. So think of Google as the protocol for agent-to-agent, communications. But ours, like our product, actually focuses on something very similar, but I would say on a deeper level. We actually add, we kind of productize it, and we add a bunch of guardrails around it. So other than just having agents kind of communicate with each other, we have a product which allows users to search for agents, discover agents, have agents actually kind of converse with each other with a trust layer of it. So there's actually, a smart contract aspect to agentic commerce, which kind of increases trust with an escrow.
Awesome. And we have virtuals on. I think they were the first guest on our return. Maybe
Yes.
second. It was either first or second.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was.
Was it not?
Because we had Chris on before I went to San Francisco. So he was actually. I want to say that Chris was one of actually our probably early in the October.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's just how fast the world moves now.
Oh, okay. It's been a while.
Yeah. I don't know
Not
if that's
today,
what
you
you're
guys have
thinking.
me.
But it's actually really cool though. I think that we have somebody else from your guys from virtuals on, because the agentic world has changed a lot. And we mentioned this at the start of kind of the first part of today's session. AI is accelerating AI, right? It's just moving faster. Like everyone for the longest time, the joke in crypto was that a day in crypto is or a day in the real world is like a year in crypto, right? It's like,
Yep.
it just moves so fast. And I don't know, I feel like AI is like a day in crypto is like a year in AI. It's just like so much happens so quickly. New model releases, new protocols, just so much innovation. So I would love to get an update from you. What is maybe the top or biggest, 1-2 thing that's kind of maybe changed in the last few months for you guys, and what's the biggest priority right now going into this upcoming, agentic hackathon with, SKALE and Google and Coinbase and some other incredible teams?
Yep. I think the last time Chris came on, I think we were probably still pretty early in the agent commerce protocol. In the past couple of months, what we've been kind of focusing on, or rather late last year, a lot of our focus has been on really scaling ACP. So this meant that, we really went out to find, actually getting demand for agent commerce protocol is very much dependent on how you get users to come in and use the agents, right? So what we focused on was to actually get very attractive agents, like focusing on some of our best agents on the virtual ecosystem, such as poly market betting agents, trading agents, different types of trading, perp trading, swaps, different things. Getting all of our good agents and even agents outside of the virtual ecosystem, getting them on board as services on ACP, so that when the user comes in and asks, hey, can I have an agent help me trade I don't know, Bitcoin, the best agent would actually come in. And this agent is actually, some are handpicked by us, some come in organically, but we focus on getting a lot of these good agents in so that users can actually get their requests fulfilled with super good agents. We also focus on driving demand. We ran a bunch of campaigns and incentives to get users to and introduce some airdrops to get users to use Butler and ACP a lot more. So we've actually grown exponentially. We have $1 million over revenue in ACP alone, which probably makes us one of the biggest, probably the biggest agent product or ecosystem, with actually live agents which are actually transacting with each other. Coming into this year and coming to this hackathon, a lot of our focus has been, I won't say shifted, but kind of we also want to expand out into not just purely Web3, but also a lot more users and agents who are more, Web2 focused. Think along the lines of agents who want to do things which are a lot more utilitarian from a Web2 perspective, agents who can build marketing campaigns for you, do better ad targeting for you, help you do finance research, and we in a sense, a lot of our users have been like kind of Web3 degens, but we kind of also want to appeal to like wider audiences, and we want to get the right agents in. So similar to how we had this huge effort, like it was very developer centric. We had a huge effort just, you know, kind of chasing the best developers out there in the Web3 space. We were doing that late last year. This year, we want to kind of focus on the same thing, but for like Web2 builders or Web2 use cases, which could be, you know, and a lot of things under the sun, but we have a few categories which are focused on it simply because, you know, we thought those would be kind of similar. We thought that those areas would have a little bit more potential for teams to expand on, and like also some very strong economic value. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. So I guess a question for you, because you said something interesting there, which is, you know, you help curate these agents, and some of them are organic, and they come in, and you know, a user has a query. And so I guess a question for you is, what does that actually look like, right, from a user perspective? Is this is a user going to, you know, is this the Butler product from Virtuals? A user comes in and they send is it like an LLM style chat? Like, hey, I want to buy Bitcoin. Can you please help me? Or is this a user's going to some specific application? How does the human part of this kind of human in the loop agent commerce protocol, how does that work?
So it is very chat based, kind of very LLM based. The idea is actually ACP fundamentally is about agentic commerce and how the agents interact with each other, or how the to actually like fulfill requests, or how a single agent could fulfill requests as well. But the channel is super important, and that's, I guess, what you're alluding to. Our butler is kind of the personal. You can think of butler as the personal assistant or the concierge service for every user who wants to come in and like buy stuff from agents. So we thought, like, we kind of started building butler as our initial like window or channel to buy things from agents, because we thought it was the most apt user interface. So similar to how you mentioned, like the user will come in and say, hey, can I buy some Bitcoin? And butler would be like, hey, let me search the ACP registry for the best agent to help you buy Bitcoin. And, you know, search the registry, look at things like the agent descriptions, look at agent metrics such as success rates, ratings, and all that. Look at the user's previous like interactions with other agents. They kind of pick the best agent for that particular request, and you know, it will kind of initiate the job with this particular agent, and when the job deliverable is returned, kind of passes like back to the user. You know, provide this information back to the user via the chat interface as well. So like, and you can also ask butler any other stuff like, oh, can I get a marketing video from an agent on ACP? And you also search the registry to get it. So it isn't actually fulfilling this request for you. It's actually linking the user up to the registry of agents on ACP and making sure like the user's whole experience on ACP is great. We actually have Butler as like kind of our first user facing channel to ACP, but we also see ACP as kind of like bigger than just Butler. We actually would like to in future build more interfaces or more channels to allow users to interact with agents on ACP. Yeah.
Very cool. So ACP is now, if I saw this correctly, ACP is now using X402 as one of the payment options behind the scenes. So I'm curious, as that's grown for you guys, do you see X402 becoming, if not already, the primary way for agents to pay other agents?
For sure. So what we've done, what we did when actually ACP already existed before, I think earlier on in X402, but we worked very closely with the Coinbase team. So when X402 was introduced, we definitely had to work on an integration with X402. And so far, our experience working with the team and building with X402 has been pretty positive. We definitely see as kind of one of the players in the agent, like, building agentic like platforms space, we definitely see X402 as one of the, probably could be the biggest, payment kind of provider in this space. We really like the simplicity of X402 and how, everyone can just plug into it, offer their services, and all that. So we definitely see a lot of potential in that. And also, obviously, we coming to this hackathon, we would love for people to build on ACP. We also love for people to build on X402 and Google A2A. At the end of the day, I think we all just want the space to like develop really quickly and have like super cool agents and standards built on this hackathon. So really looking forward to that.
Amazing. So, okay. So what I'm thinking about, right, is there's a lot of agentic protocols, right? We obviously had Nolan on. We were talking about A2A and AP2. You guys have ACP, which is the Agent Commerce protocol. I believe OpenAI and Stripe also have an ACP, which is the Agentic Commerce protocol. Right? So I think they've got 2 extra letters on there. We've got Visa has the Trusted Agent protocol. Google and Shopify now have the
UCP,
Universal Commerce protocol. There's a lot, right? So where I'm going with this is, it's funny. I think as software gets easier to make in theory, in reality, it's faster to build, but it still takes time to make it work the right way, even if you're using agentic coding. And one of the things that I have been thinking a lot about is there's all these protocols. Do you see your ACP, potentially being like an aggregator of protocols, essentially allowing people to kind of come in, whether they're using AP2, X402, whether they're using A2A or TAP or UCP or whatever? Do you kind of see virtuals as a kind of like a layer on top where you really don't care what they're using under the hood, as long as they can kind of tap into what you guys need, they can become part of your growing ecosystem?
Yeah, maybe let me share a bit of light on this. We see ourselves as a protocol which could potentially leverage other standards, but we also see ourselves as more than just an aggregator. So to put that into perspective, Google A2A's protocol or SDKs allow agents to interact with each other. To some extent, ACP's SDK allows you to do that as well. But it can, and X402 allows agents to pay each other, and ACP also allows you to do that. So in a sense, it can do some stuff, and we also managed to build integrations with them, because it really doesn't, like, we could use A2A, or we could use like a slightly different syntax or kind of standard to build agent communication. I guess the point is we are not really like focusing on that area, and we're open to building integrations in those areas. But I would say we are more than just an aggregator putting all these things together. By the way, we also integrated with ERC 8004, which is like, with Ethereum Foundation, because we also felt that, identity was important. And I think being like productized gives us that kind of advantage where we can build a lot of the standards, and in a sense, we have one of the biggest like agent and user bases for agentic commerce. But that being said, we are more than just gluing all this together, because we have an additional like layer of trust on top of agentic, like all these agent standards. So it can be a little bit involved, but the idea is every time in a typical ACP job, we actually encourage trust using an escrow. So for example, when a buyer actually initiates a job with like a seller agent, right? The request will first come in. The seller agent would actually like respond, or they could negotiate, and then the seller agent would actually respond. The buyer agent would actually put in some money. Obviously, you have to pay for something, right? And this could be from X402. This could be from other payment protocols. And what happens next is the seller agent should actually be kind of providing the service. Make sense? So the issue here is in a typical commerce transaction, like between humans, if this seller actually provides like, a product which is not satisfactory, like what happens? So this kind of links back to the edge cases, which you guys were discussing. Like I was kind of listening in a little bit. So it's one of those edge cases. Like what happens if suddenly the seller agent doesn't respond, or it doesn't actually provide a satisfactory output deliverable to the buyer? Like a lot of things could go wrong in between. So actually, what happens in ACP is that when the payment from the buyer first comes in, it gets stuck in an escrow or in the ACP smart contract. So the money is actually not released to the buyer straight away. What happens is the buyer would actually have to release a deliverable, which could be evidence of the trade being made. For example, if it's like buying, I don't know, making a trade for the user, and after that, there would be an evaluation process where a third-party evaluator would have to evaluate that the output of the seller was actually satisfactory. So if this output was not satisfactory, the job will just get rejected by the evaluator, and the money just gets returned straight to the buyer. So all of this is automated because we have this escrow in our smart contract. So, or if the seller agent actually kind of just got stuck or stopped responding after payment was made, in a sense, the money will also get refunded back to the user. So this escrow aspect to ACP solves a lot of issues around agentic commerce, trust issues around agentic commerce. Because think along the lines, I mean, agents fundamentally are code. Code could break. Someone's agent could stop running because I don't know, the model ran out of tokens, or the agent just ran out of money in its funding wallet, or something along those lines. A lot of things could go wrong, especially if you let agents function autonomously without a human actually checking, a human in the loop and all that. A human in the loop actually interfering all the time. So with this kind of trust layer, we believe that we are more than just an aggregator, although we could use a lot of the standards, but we also kind of increase trust and verifiability in agentic commerce. So yeah, that's kind of where we are at.
Amazing.
So as obviously you guys are joining us for the hackathon, right? We've got upcoming hackathon not next week, but the week after. Wait, is it next week? No, it's next week. Oh, it's in a week's time. Who would have thought? What is one of kind of the most exciting things you would want to see builders build in the upcoming hackathon?
I think what I'll be most excited about is use cases. Having teams actually build very useful agents in the finance and ed tech space. Simply because we think that there's a lot of potential in these areas. We see a lot of tech evolving super quickly. And it's also quite adjacent to some of the agents and usage we've seen on ACP and also outside of ACP, when people interact with agents. To be honest, kind of what we're providing at the hackathon are kind of SDKs and standards. But there's actually a lot of flexibility around what people can build. I think ultimately, just looking forward to what builders can build, which is as monetizable as possible. Because ultimately, if the agent is super giga, I'm sure it will achieve a lot of demand. Whether it's via A2A or ACP, yeah, or any other standard, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be interesting. And I think obviously builders love to build in so many different ways, but sometimes it can come across as relatively, sometimes can be similar, especially if you got the same ideas. I guess final thing, if you were to give one practical tip to our hackathon builders to stand out, what would it be?
I would say think out of the box and think of your agent as, you know, your storefront, and make your agent as attractive and as monetizable as possible. So that you probably, you know, have the best agent out there, because ultimately we are looking for really good agents which can monetize their services, and we are really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I like that as well. You know, I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have, not only in crypto, but even in kind of like the vibe coding space, is that attractiveness, you know. And Sawyer can attest, after working many years in DevRel, that developers aren't the best at making things attractive from a consumer point of view.
Exactly.
Depends on the developer.
I'm just saying an average, brother. I'm just saying average. Like, bro, your UI. Have we, like, do we want to go through your UI, especially your UI from a couple of months ago? Like,
it's terrible.
It's terrible.
I can't design. I couldn't design to save my life, and I couldn't go 0 to 1 following a design. I just didn't have the soft skills for my brain to be able to put 2 and 2 together, to take someone's good design and put it on a page. I'm more of a logic person. Like, my brain just thinks more logically. And so it's hard because I don't like doing it. My favorite part now is I have a really terrible application, right? Like, looking, and I literally just go in Claude Code and I go /front-end-design, enter, and it just magic. You know, it's like, which actually comes back to my, I agree with Celeste's first piece of advice the most, which is think outside the box. I think especially the hackathon, like, if you're planning on building something in a hackathon to take it after, just like go so far off the beaten path that everyone's kind of looking at you like, what are you doing? Because that's where the best ideas come from.
Yeah.
Please build more trading agents, build more financial agents, build more things that people actually want to use, but just take it in a direction that no one's thinking, right? If you have that creativity, or you know someone who's got those ideas, go pick their brain in advance, because that's where the diamonds come from. So to speak, is just not just copying and pasting from someone else.
So
agree. I think we've been kind of seeing how important like product sense or like just creativity has been for like developers, especially with the kind of advancement of a lot of these vibe coding tools. You know, there's so much you can do now with just natural language alone.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, if you had the ability right now to make let's say you were allowed to enter into the hackathon, which you're not, for the virtual track, what would you do? What AI agent would you build?
I would find an agent that can attack in a positive way, not a negative way. Attack a area of crypto that is in heavy need of revival. Whether it's NFTs or like name service. I think there's a lot of things that, I know it's a terrible word, I use it once a week. There's a lot of things in crypto that I think people had great intentions for, and they just got caught up in the wave of who can make the most money, and then they kind of just like died. And I just think there's so much opportunity around those, right? Probably like the simplest example when I say like NFTs is, I don't mean it has to be like art, although, you know, agents are getting really good at creating graphics, right? You could probably have an art curator or, you know, a painter or whatever. Like, you could probably get into that creative area if that's what you're into. But I also think it could be just as simple as, you know, we're seeing a lot of interest and growth in the RWA space. Can you find an agent? Can you build an agent? Can you build a fleet of agents capable of identifying and procuring RWAs or handling, you know, downstream interest or mortgage payments? You know, you've got like Figure and provenance with their HELOC thing, right? Like, how can you tap into these existing RWA platforms with an agent and then let people, to your point, just use natural language to tap into this value? I think there's just, I don't see it. I see most people just want to trade Bitcoin and, you know, top cryptos. And there's a lot of cool things that actually exist in the blockchain space. And if you put an agent in front, make it easy, you essentially can, you start to solve this usability problem. Because the biggest thing crypto has is a user experience problem. We've got cool ideas, but it still is a pain to use pretty much everything. So,
can I tell you what I would build?
Please.
It's not crypto related, right? It's not on chain, but it could be on chain. But it's this. I have gotten really, really deep back into World of Warcraft, right? And for me, one of the biggest issues is I ain't got no gold, right? I need some gold. So AI trading bot for the WoW auction house. That's what I would build, because I have no gold. I need gold. My flying mount is coming up in like a couple of weeks. I need 5,000 gold. I got 300. You know, I can plug in the WoW auction house API, the full database, into an AI agent, real time, tell me what to buy and when to buy and for how much.
My friend,
I want that.
Why don't you enter the hackathon? You're
no.
You can't win, but you can enter for fun and build.
It's a good point. I might do it, but that's what I want to. That's what I want to build. Cool idea, right?
Uh-oh.
I
think I just lost internet. Oh, there we go. Sorry. If you work at a company that is helping host a hackathon, you won't be eligible for prizes, but if you have an idea, please come and build. There's no bad ideas. Like, you should do it. Everyone should be encouraged to build, even if it's just to showcase to others what could be done. Hackathons, in my eyes, the prizes are the incentive to get people in the door. And that's great. There's a lot of people who they actually need that to be able to, you know, potentially take time off of their job to be able to hack and explore these new protocols. But at the end of the day, the number one priority of the hackathon, in every hackathon, in my opinion, is exploration. Hackathons are not designed to build, you know, something that already exists and just make it a little bit better. Hackathons, in my eyes, are you either have a net new idea or you have an existing protocol, and you're going to build a feature or a protocol that's brand new, game changing. And when people look at it for the first time, they say, huh? Like, what? And then, like, you know, it's so new that you're on that cutting edge of exploration. So whether it's you or anybody else, when you show up to the X402, SF X402 Agentic Commerce Hackathon with Virtual, SKALE, Coinbase, Google, who am I missing?
Edge and Node.
Edge and Node, thank you.
And you're missing someone else.
I don't have the graphic right in front of me. I apologize.
I don't either. I don't either. It's Pairpoint by Vodafone.
Thank you. So they were last minute additions. My bad. No matter who you are, no matter what you want to build, no matter where you're from, no matter whether you're going to be hacking in person at the house, whether you're going to be online. Yes, this is a fully remote allowed hybrid hackathon. Just show up and build something cool. We're going to be here to support. You'll have myself, Celeste, a bunch of other individuals from these incredible companies of all different sizes, some of the biggest in the world, here to help you. Just show up and build. I don't care who you are. If you need help, you have a question, I'll be here to help. We just want you to build and push the cutting edge of what can be done with X402 and Agentic Commerce.
100%. Celeste, before we send things off, anything further that you'd like to say?
No, just looking forward to seeing everyone at the hackathon and seeing what everyone builds.
100%. Awesome. Guys, thank you for joining us for our first and last ever double back-to-back Scale School. Been a pleasure, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you.